What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the 20 Percenters, where we focus on what matters: health, wealth, relationships, and time. Brought to you by the New Year Network, the immersion event for leaders moving the needle in 2020. I've got the immense pleasure of sitting down with Dr. Ricky Brown, the author of The Real Beauty Bible, Navigating Your Journey Through Plastic Surgery. We're sitting here in the office with which you practice, Brown Plastic Surgery. And I have to tell you, as we were getting into before we jumped on the show, I really appreciate the fact that you have this out there in the world. And because the question I've wanted to ask you, and now that I've read your book, I want to ask you even more, that I think you'll be able to rightly answer is, why do you have a job?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, we're very colorful people on the planet, and I think different things make everyone tick very differently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no question that we all look in the mirror, and when we look in the mirror, we see something. And I think there's a separation of the physical, how you feel about yourself, but that connects to how we mentally feel about ourselves. And so I think the reason I have a job is that we all want to look and feel our best.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that doing that first with health and wellness, which I'm sure we're going to get into, which I'm big into, once people have sort of maximize their ability with working out and other things, there's some things that you just can't do without a little help from someone like me.
Right.
And so for me, that's why I have a job, is I think that we all are trying to look and feel our best.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things I can do to help people get there. And I had a rhinoplasty when I was 24.
Yeah, you talk about it in the book.
So I get it. Like I know where they're coming from.
Yeah. The ethics with which you practice, and you talk about it in the book in terms of the line in the sand for people that you will and will not treat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say a housewife comes in and says, "My husband wants me to get this done." Like, that's a hard no for you.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Or do you take it one step further and have them do a little more introspection? Like, what is it in your life that would make you want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, how do you navigate that question?
You know,
or that circumstance, I should say.
I'm a pretty easy, straight shooting kind of a guy. I grew up in Georgia. I'm a Southerner. There's not much sugarcoating. And when I get a sense from a patient, and I think one of my fortes for being a physician and just as a person is I really connect with people.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm sitting with my patients, I start to get a sense, if they don't say anything, I can start to get a sense of maybe they're not really doing this for themselves. Like they're trying to fix a relationship, or because they'll start to talk and hint towards that. When that stuff comes up, I'm just honest with them and I ask them outright, is this the right thing for you right now?
Yeah.
Why do you ask that question? I ask that question because I'm sensing these kinds of things in our little consultation here that sound to me like maybe it's not the right time for you. And some of them will be like, you know what? You're right. And they'll go and sort of self-reflect on what's going on and either not do it or come back and say, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
And it's time. And this is why I want to do it. And I want to hear people do things for the right reason, because we all watch the show Botched.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad stuff that goes on out there. Surgery's no joke.
So how does it, if you get it done for the wrong reasons, how does it manifest when it backfires above and beyond the physical stuff?
Yeah. So I think just like anything else that we do to try to fix relationships, like some people have a baby thinking that's going to fix a marriage or a relationship. It's the same thing. I think you see them come back. And I don't get to see this very often, but I can imagine what probably happens and what backfires is that they don't get what it was they were trying to get from having that procedure. They're not getting the happiness and the fulfillment that they were trying to correct with doing something physical to themselves.
Right. So walk us through your journey through your rhinoplasty, right? Because that was a very pivotal moment in your life, but also your journey into plastic surgery.
Yeah, my story is long. I'm going to keep it short. So, and when I say that, it's because I didn't always want to be a doctor. That kind of happened to me my senior year. Man, I've been TikToking. and what's happened on there, and the reason I did it was to try to help out with Instagram, but I've got all these pre-med students asking me questions, which is part of what I'm going to answer for you.
Yeah.
So I didn't always want to be a doctor. And there was a time in my life where I looked in the mirror and all I saw was my nose. And I had broken my nose 3 times playing baseball. and it was all cosmetic. I didn't have any breathing issues, but I didn't like the way my nose looked. And so when I looked in the mirror, I always saw my nose. And that, I wasn't like not a confident person, but I saw it and it affected me. And I recognized at the age of 24 that affected me. So I remember approaching my mom, and I knew that my sister had one and my mom had one as a kid. And I said, hey, do you think this is something that I could do? Sure. Why do you want to do it? And we kind of talked about that. And so long story short, I did it. We found a great surgeon. I had it done. And what happened for me transformationally was I went from recognizing my nose every time I looked into the mirror to now just seeing me. And seeing my face. And it wasn't something that was even in my brain anymore. Like, hey, maybe all along I was looking at something that no one else was looking at, but I was looking at it.
Sure.
And that affected me in some way. That affected me. So I had that. So that was huge. So still at that time, I didn't know I wanted to be a doctor. Okay. So spring forward to college. I'm a senior in college. I don't really know what I want to do for my life. I was going to maybe go into my dad's business. Okay. And they sold computers to medical practices, strangely enough. And I just had an epiphany, and long story short, I decided medicine was where I wanted to go, and I started exploring science classes, and I wasn't a good student up until that point. I didn't really have great grades. And so I just sort of volunteered at the hospital as a patient transporter and started to grow my love for medicine, decided to do that. And then what happened was I had a year off after I took the MCAT, which is the big test we have to take to get into school, and the pre-meds. And I worked in an operating room. I was an orderly, mopping floors, wiping down tables, cleaning up blood. And that's where I was like, wow, this is massive. Like surgery's pretty cool. And that's where I got my interest in that. So spring forward through med school, did all my rotations, and surgery was still something that stood out to me. But what got me was I was in a level 1 trauma unit in Chicago, Knife and Gun Club. Ooh. The craziest of the crazies. General surgery I'm double boarded, so I did general surgery first, but that's where I started to see a lot of reconstructive work for gunshot victims. Okay. And I kind of got introduced to plastic surgery, and then that opened up my world to, wow, there's like this whole other thing out there that I could do to help people that doesn't have to be gallbladders and appendixes. And that's where I kind of got my love for plastics.
Okay. So where does the transformation come in from the necessity of plastic surgery for a gunshot victim to somebody who's in more your camp in high school, where they're lacking fulfillment for aesthetic reasons? So
where does where does what come?
Where does the transformation come for you professionally?
I do a little bit of both. I get great gratitude from reconstructive and cosmetic stuff. I still do both. And so
I'm gonna cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
What's the technical difference between reconstructive and cosmetic?
So it's a great question, because I tell all my reconstructive patients everything is cosmetic. So that's a great question. Okay. So, but where the technical cutoff is, people will come in, you want a breast augmentation, that's an elective procedure. A woman comes in and has had a mastectomy from breast cancer, that's considered a reconstructive procedure. So I'm rebuilding the breast.
Got it.
And the same thing applies to someone who might have had taking a bullet to the thigh and had skin grafts and all kinds of stuff, and have to come back and close all that up and make it look pretty. Okay. So that's reconstructive. So the jump for me, I get fulfillment from both. I don't think I could do just either one alone. Okay. Because I think cosmetic stuff alone, I would get bored. And I think just reconstructive can become hard on you at times. So I think the blend of the two is what I love. So I do both, and I love it.
The emotional toll of the reconstructive side, the stories that come with that part of your practice. How do you obviously have the balance of both cosmetic and reconstructive, but are there any instances in your practice where like it was really tough not to take that story home with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Case in point, it's pretty raw right now for me. Get a little emotional just thinking about it, but I do a lot of breast cancer, and we see a lot of younger women today getting breast cancer. And I had a 40-year-old mom. I have two stories, and it's hard, man. I had a 40-year-old mom of 2 kids who had breast cancer that I reconstructed many years ago. She passed away a couple weeks ago. She had a recurrence, and she passed away, and it's hard, I mean, we have these moments in life where you're grateful that you're healthy, but it still sucks to go home with that in the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't get to see that part of it. They look at plastic surgery as this sort of cosmetic game. It's all beauty and flash. And I don't think people really can grasp that I still, even after general surgery, I bring home some stuff with me. And
Sure.
it's hard, man. I've had 2 young women like that pass away on me from breast cancer.
Wow. What's your outlet?
CrossFit.
All right.
And my family.
Okay.
My outlet is I love the outdoors. I'm supremely into health and wellness and being healthy and feeling good. And so I do think the daily dose of that and CrossFit, God, man, you and I can talk that game forever, why I love that. But I love the community in there. It gets me away from what I do on a daily basis and a family and a great wife and awesome kids and life. That's huge for me. And then I like getting in the mountains and doing stuff, hiking and fishing. And I haven't done a lot of fishing since I left Georgia, but I do love it.
Sure. How do you balance, because tell me about, and where do I want to go with this? Tell me about being a surgeon and a business owner.
It's hard, man. So I have a little bit of business hardwired into me, which is good.
Right, because you come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Come from a family of entrepreneurs in business. And but I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that it has been very hard. And
how long have you had your own practice?
10 years.
10 years. Okay.
So I'm 10 years last summer. So I'm in my 11th year
Nice.
now. And it's amazing to see the transformation of myself as a business owner to where I was originally, and literally learning a lot of it from the ground up on my own. Learning how to treat employees, how to motivate them, how to get them to see the vision that I have and not just have them see it for the dollars that I make or they might make. Learning there's a lot of different characters in who you hire and what motivates each one of them has been difficult.
Sure.
The financial part, I'm a little bit slower than most plastic surgeons. I think I have a little bit of a better head on as far as I don't jump into buying machines and spending $100,000 on the laser and all that stuff. I didn't my first 10 years because I was trying to build a foundation of doing good work, having good word of mouth out there about me and putting that revenue back into my practice. And now I'm doing a lot of that, but I'm probably years behind where I should have been in doing that, like injectables and lasers and all that stuff. But I think a lot of my business savviness has been learned over time and listening to podcasts, since they're so prevalent now about how to run practices and be good owners. I've done a lot of that.
I find it interesting in this game that we call entrepreneurship for folks like you and I. And granted, I didn't go to school for 10 more years after undergrad, but when you spend so much of your professional education learning a technical skill, and then getting the fire hose of the practical MBA, I'll call it.
Totally.
You know what? I think I can do this myself.
Yeah.
And then you have to learn on the fly every single day.
Yeah.
Is that still the case 10 years in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still feel like it's a forever evolving process. I think I finally got to a place where I realize that's never going to change.
Right.
I'm always going to feel less than good. That's just me. I don't ever feel like I'm doing enough. I don't ever feel like I'm providing enough in my business to grow it. But then I look back and I'm like, damn, I've come a long way in the 10 years, you know? But it's hard being a business owner. It really is, because you don't have all that Wall Street savvy and I don't have all that MBA savvy, you know?
I'll tell you what's really funny. I was sitting down a couple of years ago with my CPA doing our tax prep and stuff, and he's like, "You had a really good year." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, man, you're profitable." I'm like, "That's not what the bank says."
Right.
And like part of my education in business a couple of years into being brick and mortar was all that reinvesting I was putting in the gym, paying off that capital generation, loans and whatnot. Like all that counts towards your profitability, even though you're paying off debt. And like it took me a couple of years into being a business owner to understand that concept.
Yeah, the balance sheet and the spreadsheet and the P&Ls and all that stuff. I mean, I know how to look at them. Probably can't interpret them as good as a business person, but dude, I hear you. I think I probably had the same response. They're like, I think that happened to me a year ago. Somebody's like, man, you killed it this year.
Yeah.
I'm like, the bank account's not showing that. So I had the same exact response, but then you understand, like, you're just reinvesting a lot in your practice, and it doesn't equate to what you have home in the bank. I'm not paying myself. I probably have underpaid myself for the past 10 years because I'm trying to grow my practice.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I'm so happy that we're like off on this tangent, because there's this, and this is why the podcast platform are just having these conversations with us, right? Other entrepreneurs, so you understand that it's not just you.
Totally.
Having that conversation with people who are like, oh, bro, you're killing it.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't feel like it.
I get that all the time on Instagram. Your game is so strong. You're crushing it, man. I'm like, really? Same thing.
It's like
so true.
And it took a real swift kick in my ass for me to start paying myself more.
Yeah.
I got to a point with my company where we were sustainable, profitable, all that kind of everything was pointing north. And my CPA is like, dude, like, the IRS is not going to allow you to live below the poverty line for very much longer. Like it's time, dude.
It's real, man. And I struggle with that too, big time. Like it not because I'm worried about what people think about me, but I'm not a flashy car guy. I love cars, but I don't live that life. I'm happy. I'm comfortable. And I didn't want to strip my business growth.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was paying myself more, but then I've also heard the comment, you got to get paid first.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's been baby steps for me to pay myself more.
Totally. Yeah. I've had a handful of finance guys, Curtis Ray being the most prominent. He created a product called MPI, the Maximum Performance Index, and the entire thing is based upon compounding interest and all that kind of good stuff. But his number one financial principle, above all else, is pay yourself first.
Yep.
You have to.
Figuring out what that number is is hard, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like what does that really mean where I'm not suffocating my business doing it? Because I think that's like one of the prominent mistakes that young, and I mean that in business years, young entrepreneurs make is they neglect to reinvest in their company to facilitate growth and stability and all that kind of good stuff. And, God forbid you're in an industry where you get a lot of fast cash, and then like Aaron Hind, who owns FitAid, he's speaking at the New Year Network.
Oh, is he?
He's keynoting, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And you need to be there, by the way.
You have to tell me more about it. I've heard about
it. Yeah. We'll get on that.
Okay.
He's like, he gave me these 3 words that I'll never forget. And I think I cover this almost every 4th episode. Trajectory, not velocity. Like, it's okay to grow slow, right? As long as you're moving the needle, right?
And that is exactly the point that I was making about the lasers and stuff. My trajectory every single year since I've been out, and I got out in 2009 in the middle of the crisis and hung a shingle and joined a guy who I basically paid overhead to just be in his office. It wasn't like I inherited his practice.
Okay.
And every year since then, it's been up, but it's been exactly what you said. It has been slow trajectory over time. And I'll tell you one thing I do that I've learned. I have all these bank accounts, right? So I'm moving money around on a daily basis. I have a main account, and I have a tax account, and I have a buy a machine account, whatever. And so every month, I funnel money out of my main account into all these other accounts, so that intentionally, my main account always looks super lean. And you know what that does to me? I gotta go make more money. So I'm always trying to fill that bucket.
Yeah.
Where the buckets are all down here, and I don't see. Sometimes I go, shit, I got a lot of money down here. Like, okay, we're doing okay, because that one main account is always being depleted and going to other buckets.
Right. And
that's been cool for me to kind of see that we are going up.
Where'd you pull that from?
So part of that was
Is that a Dave Ramsey thing?
No, it's not a Dave Ramsey, which I love him. A practice management company that I used for a while, for a few years. He talked about that. He's like, you need to constantly be moving money around, pay a little bit on your credit card every day. Don't collect up. Like if you know you're going to buy a machine, make a bucket for that machine and put it in there for taxes at the end of the year. He's like, you don't want to get to the end of the year and go, I got to write a check for $100,000. Where's the money? He's like, so start siphoning that money now. So at the end of the year, you write the check and you don't even feel it. You just, you feel it, but you don't feel it.
Right.
So I learned that from his practice management company.
Okay. Yeah. I went to a Tony Robbins event a couple of years back, and I went to a follow-on seminar called the Millionaire Mindset.
Yeah.
And they talk about that bucket principle
and
literally having a bucket for everything. And he in his slideshow, he opened it was a screenshot of his Chase dashboard.
Yep.
All the numbers and stuff are blanked out or whatever, except for the dollars. Right. It's part of the allure.
Exactly.
Right. And but I mean, there were at least 20 accounts on this page, but he's like, every one of these is a bucket, and like you just described, your tax bucket, blah 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 blah, and that active practice, I think, is more what I want to bring to the forefront at this point in the conversation. That active practice of shifting money around, and it just increases your consciousness of A, what you're actually doing with money, but B, also that main account, keeping it lean so that you have a huge motivator to keep it full.
Dude, and it works because I tell you, like, maybe last month we dipped pretty low in that main account. I was like, damn, we don't have any money. I'm like, we got to close more deals. We got to get more surgery. And then I looked down. I was like, oh, wait, okay, we got some down here. We're okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
But that first reaction, and it does help me push my staff and my practice to a different level, just having that mentality, not being like, we got to make more money, but just me mentally stepping my game up and being like, look, we gotta be more intentional with our marketing and everything that we're doing, and it helps me hyper focus.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, because you're not distracted by all that bottom stuff, right? Just that top dollar.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. So no, that's extremely. So how much active education are you getting on the business end now that because you're obviously required to maintain proficiency as a doctor, but how much time do you allocate towards your business acumen?
So I listen to several podcasts. Do you know Andy Frisella?
MFCEO.
Oh my God, dude.
I want to be in his syndicate.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Let's get in Arte. So I didn't realize.
So my chiropractor, Dr. Mike.
Is he in it? No.
Michael Andrula?
No.
He's in Arte.
So I'm dying to get in. Yeah. And I because this just launches us into a cool path. So he single-handedly changed my life about 1.5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Do tell.
So believe it or not, double boarded. For whatever people think of me of that, they tend to attach some kind of accomplishment to all of that.
Significance. Yeah.
10 years out, double boarded, great practice, great family, great life, still feel like a failure. So looking in, not a failure, but I should say not reaching my potential. Yeah. And Andy talks about that all the time. So I was trying to figure out where I was going in my practice, and I was feeling real down about not growing, and was I going to open up a med spa like everyone else, and what was going to be my next thing, which becomes this health and wellness topic that we may or may not get into. So I've decided I want to start this wellness concept in my practice where I help people live healthier, wealthier lives before surgery. If they still need to lose weight, not going to operate on you until you're ready. And by the way, I'd like to provide those services in my office where we give you a macro coach and we try to work through that. Yeah. So that's a whole other conversation. So I'm looking around at all my buddies around me going, man, his practice is thriving. He's awesome. That guy's kicking ass. That lady's kicking ass. Why do I suck so bad? Yeah. And I would talk to myself this way all the time. And I remember vividly listening. I found him and listening to one of his podcasts one day where he was talking about how he felt that way, that he has a $200 million business and a company, he's successful and has all these Lambos and all of his lifestyle and the way he is. Yeah. And he's like, I have days where I look in the mirror and I tell myself I'm not good enough and I don't think I'm accomplished. He goes, but you know what the difference is between people like me and people like you, I've learned to turn those voices off, and I talk positively to myself. When I start to feel that way, I look myself in the mirror and I tell myself that I can do it, and I know I can do it. And that moment for me, as corny as this sounds, literally in my car getting a little choked up thinking this guy's like, he is reaching through the mic and he's talking to me right now. And so I start listening to his podcast and I realize like, holy shit, like we're all the freaking same. And I feel that way because I'm allowing myself to feel that way. And I need to learn and train myself how to not allow myself to feel that way. And so that sort of took me from, of course I can have a practice like those guys. Of course I can thrive and do what these guys do. And it wasn't until that moment where I really said to myself, I'm having like this epiphany in my entrepreneurship. And then I started listening to him and I'm like, dude, he's so authentic and so real. I want to be an Arte.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things, the mechanisms I put in place to get out of that negative narrative is using the word yet. Right.
Tell me.
So you have this inner monologue going, you're not good enough. Your practice isn't as profitable as the other guy, right? You have that thought. Just slap the word yet on the end of that thought. My practice isn't where I want it to be yet. I haven't made X amount of dollars yet.
Totally.
There aren't so many butts in these seats yet, and it turns a potentially self-defeating negative narrative into a glimmer of hope, right? And that's all you need.
Totally.
Right? To just make the shift is just throw yet on the end of it. And that's that one word just has become so powerful for me. Because for me, I get stuck when I have to sit at the computer. Like we'll get done with the show. And we'll all part ways, and Max will go edit, and Illy will handle all the social, and I got to do the show notes. And I hate it so much.
Why?
It's not my strength, to sit and type. It's not like, and I've written a fucking book.
Right.
I'm capable.
Right. Totally.
But it's not my joy. I want to be doing this. I want to be out on the floor talking to my members and finding out how everybody's doing and checking the pulse on the community and stuff like that. That's where I'm in absolute flow. Doing the technical admin stuff like that just brings my momentum to a screeching halt.
I know.
So I have to use that yet mechanism quite often in that phase of my practice, in that it's like, man, I do not love technology yet. So I'm going to move through this exercise. We're going to do this thing. And eventually, it won't be a thing.
We parallel that in CrossFit all the time, right? Like you probably tell a lot of your members, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
And so for a lot of us, those things like the notes, it's a very uncomfortable thing for you. And so just by working through it and keeping on doing it, eventually it may not ever become comfortable,
right? But
you'll be able to tolerate it and get through it. It may not be as hard as it was.
Sure.
But I think that's something I drew from Andy too in his podcast, that whole just like, dude, it's never going to be perfect. Your business is never going to be perfect. You're never going to be totally comfortable. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Because it's still... It's going to be that way forever.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, he's the man, dude. I don't think maybe he does quite know how many people he's changed, how many lives he's affected, but I think it's so all the time. It's so routine that it's just hard to feel it.
Well, it's interesting because I had Chris Widener on the show, who worked with Zig Ziglar. He ghost wrote for John Maxwell, and he spent a lot of time with Jim Rohn, who were like the masters of the sales and personal growth and development space, right? They're like the godfathers of that space.
I love Zig.
And he was telling me that we really have to gain appreciation for the lives that we touch. We can't look at it from a direct contact standpoint, because we are only physically capable of so much, right? Instead, we have to look at it like a coaching tree. Right, I affected you, and then you went out and affected so many people, and then so it becomes exponential that way, right? And that's where, if you really wanted to figure out how much impact you've actually had, take like the top 3 people that you've impacted and look at the impact that they've had, and just kind of like work your way.
Totally.
The degrees of separation. And I don't know if he's done that, but I bet if you did, it'd be into the millions by now.
Oh, I'm sure. And he shows it every now and then. I think that's what I love about him, is he's so raw and so real. Like, he threw a letter up that some guy wrote him the other day on a post like a week or 2 ago, and I'm like zooming in trying to read this thing. Like, what's he talking about? What affected him so much? And like, I think every now and then he does have a check where he's like, damn, this is big. And his brother Sal is equally as amazing. I follow him on Instagram and First Form, and they do some pretty badass stuff, and I want to be a part of that.
Sure. And I think it's really interesting because you get real-time feedback, when you take somebody through their journey, right? But how often do you get that down the road check-in of like the legitimate impact that you've actually had on their life?
I do. I get, every now and then I get a letter in the mail or a card, or even a simple a year out follow-up, and someone they'll tell me like, man, you just have no idea how much this has affected my life and my confidence and how I feel about myself, and my relationships now are different. And when that happens, we all focus on the horrible times. We're like, man, these patients are beating me down. Nobody's happy. What's going on? And you get caught up in that. And then eventually you're like, you get those people that come back and you're like, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
You know? So I do get it, and it's mostly in the form of a message on Instagram or an email, or they're doing a 1-year follow-up, and it's awesome. It feels good.
Has anybody ever thanked you for not pursuing a procedure with them?
Yes, actually, yes. So I had this will knock you on your butt. I had a guy come to me about a couple months ago this year, who walks in the door for a liposuction consultation. Okay. And I walk in the room, and this all happens in my brain like this, but I'm going to describe it longer. Sure. My brain goes from, this is not a consultation about liposuction. This just became a discussion about health and wellness and fitness, because this guy clearly was not a liposuction candidate. So we start engaging in this conversation, and he's got a bunch of visceral fat. And for those of you who don't know anatomy and understand, the viscera is what's underneath the muscles in the tummy, your guts. Your guts are surrounded by fat. And part of making a flat tummy is, as people work out and exercise, they burn visceral fat internally, which helps the tummy be less bulgy. Right. Well, this guy clearly had a ton of visceral fat. So no matter what I did to him, liposuction, tummy tuck, he was always going to be that way, because he needed to live a different lifestyle. So we start having this conversation. In the middle of the conversation, where I'm pumping him up about macros and working out and just changing his lifestyle, I said, by the way, how did you get here? And he said, well, my primary care doc told me I had enough money, so I should just go get some liposuction.
Get the fuck out of here.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, these are the leaders of our primary care. These are the people that are so fed up with trying to help people change the way they live that their answer is go have liposuction. I was like, let me tell you something. Right now, you have a new primary care doctor. Don't ever go back and see that doctor again. And number 2, if you want this and you want to look and feel better, you have to do it. I cannot give you a surgery that's going to get you there. Here are the things that are going to move the needle for you. You have to flip the switch in your brain. You got to change the way you live. All these things that we tell people all the time. And he just like looked at me and he was like, thank you.
Oh my God.
And he was just like, I'm like, and I turn him away, and I do that stuff, man. I mean, it's like, we're here to help people and to impact lives and to add value to people's lives. Like, it's not all about the money and the glitz and the glamour. We need money to live, but that's what it's about for me. It blew me away.
That's beyond comprehension to me.
I was like, a doctor told you that? Like, come on.
Well, like, I've had the VA consultations and stuff like that for my disability through the military and all that kind of good stuff. And at one point, I had an ortho screening with a doc from he was active duty in Vietnam, and he's looking at my x-ray, and he's like, I got to be quite honest with you. By looking at your joints, I can't tell whose x-ray this is, yours or mine.
Wow.
And he's like, you are lucky that you are so active. Don't ever stop. On the flip side, in a previous consultation, as I was leaving active duty, I sat with the doc who was looking at that same picture, and he was like, you should probably stop training. And I'm like, knowing what I know of A&P, anatomy and physiology, and exercise and performance, I'm like, that is the wrong answer to. And I had the same response that I just had with that story that you told about a primary care physician recommending surgery over a lifestyle change. That's insane.
Insane.
Like to not train makes all these chronic conditions worse.
Yep.
Right? If you move forward with and give that guy a procedure anyway, right? It doesn't change his circumstance.
Not at all. I agree 100%. Dude, this is exactly where I am in my practice. Like, and you go back to the entrepreneurship thing, like I'm paralyzed by it. I'm trying to get it going, but this is, I really truly mean this when I say this. And I know this is probably a very lofty comment. I want to change the way we practice medicine as plastic surgeons, as well as just in general. And what I mean by that is I always tell my patients now, I am a doctor before I'm a surgeon. My first goal should be for you to live a healthy, wealthy life.
Yes.
And for me to help give you the knowledge and equip you with the things that you need in order to live in the body you want to live in. I'm not saying everyone has to be skinny and ripped. People take this the wrong way.
Sure.
You don't have to be skinny and ripped. You just need to be healthy.
Right.
You need to be healthy. And especially if you're going to have a surgery like something in what we do where we help the body look and feel better, you tapped on this already. If I do an operation on you right now and your BMI is over 30 and you're not ready, you're not going to have the things in place you need in place after surgery to maintain a long-lasting result.
Right.
So let's get it dialed in before so that when you do have a procedure, then you're going to have that long-lasting result forever.
Sure.
And that's where I'm heading in my practice, and I really feel passionate about there, and I got to figure out how to do it.
Do you have many peers that subscribe to that same train of thought?
I think as I've talked about this for a year now, and I'm starting to put the pieces together, I do, and I know some of my buddies who are plastic surgeons are like, totally would send my patient over you that needs to lose weight before that. And then there's the other side where there's people in town that see it as competition. So I want to try to design the wellness concept with a different name so that they can send them there and not be threatened that I'm going to take their surgical client, because that's not my goal.
Sure, right.
So it was well received at Fitposium. I went to Fitposium and presented the concept, and they were all like,
"Yeah, of course.
Who thinks that way?"
Sure.
I'm like, I do.
Right.
But I really want to try to get that going. We're going to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
We haven't done it yet.
That, my man, there it is. Because that school of thought is rampant in the fitness and wellness.
Huge.
We're using fitness as medicine.
Yep.
We can't say that, but I mean, that's how I feel about it.
Yep.
And, to marry the two, naturopaths and all, and that camp is on board, getting for lack of a better term, getting Western medicine on board with that school of thought. I think that changes the game.
Totally.
Because now you have these active seekers of the easy pill being denied and being held accountable to, getting their shit together.
Totally.
And I feel like that's what's not happening right now.
Well, let's face it. It is, as well as I know, it is uncomfortable to be fit. It is not easy to get there. It's not easy to get your ass out of bed when it's cold every day in the wintertime here, and when it's hot as hell in the summer. It's uncomfortable to do that. And I think people they don't desire to do it because they just don't want to be uncomfortable. So they just continue doing the easy thing. And I think if we can just get people to dip their toe in the water a little bit and taste what it's like if they do it right, you know how addictive that becomes for people.
Absolutely. And I think, from a healthy perspective, you're shifting some addictive behaviors so that it's no longer detrimental and it works for you, not against you. You know, where somebody would be naturally attracted, and I'm sure you've seen this over the years, the people that become addicted to plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Right. There are people that on the other end of the spectrum are addicted to fitness in that way. You know, but there's that middle ground where you feel a negative physiological response by not training, and that motivates you to get up and do the thing. Just like for me, for example, when we go out on date night and whatnot, where I could easily, you know, because my schedule's clear the next day, tie one on.
Yeah.
The thought of not being able to train effectively the next day keeps me to a 2-drink max.
We're on the same page.
You know what I mean?
I hardly drink. Alexis, my wife, and I, we're not big drinkers, man. And I partied my ass off in college and all that. I mean, I drank. We all did that.
Yeah.
And I am the exact same way. Like, she and I talk about this all the time. I'm like, you know what? We could get loaded tonight and have fun, you know, but like, we want to go work out tomorrow. We want to be healthy. We want to be fit. And you can't do that when you feel that way.
Right.
And you just, you know, I'm not banging on drinking, but it just, for me, it's become a much less important avenue in my life.
Yeah.
And the health and fitness thing is more important. And it 100% my deciding to drink or not drink has to do with what I'm going to do the next day for working out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I love that. I'm the same way.
Segue. What is it like to be married to an entrepreneur? Because your wife's completely crazy through alternate channels. Your wife and my wife now work together and collaborate on events and whatnot, which I think is amazing.
It's awesome.
And she's like, "Did you know that Lex is Dr. Brown's wife?" I was like, "What? That's cool." And I need to have her on the show at some point.
She would love that.
No doubt. But what is that like?
It's a balance, man. I'll tell you, because we have twins, Brody and Graham. They just turned 10, and I think Alexis was a dental hygienist for 10 years, and I think she always knew that wasn't really what was in her heart with what she was supposed to do.
Which I think is funny because
I know she battles with that.
Does she?
She has such a great product, and we're health and wellness, and she makes, you know, caramel wrapped chocolate dip pretzels. She's like, "What am I doing?" I'm like, "If you don't do it, somebody else will." So, and I'm like, "Who eats that shit?" CrossFitters, all that, we eat all that stuff.
Right.
So she, what's it like? It's been cool, man, because I've gotten to witness in her transition from that, not deciding that she's not going to be a dental hygienist anymore, to then we had the boys, and our boys needed some help and some therapies early on in life, and being present for them, until now when she's discovered Sweet Life by Lex, segueing into, okay, I found something I'm good at, that I'm passionate about, that makes me feel good, but still trying to balance being there for the boys and doing some of that stuff and getting a workout in, and it gets really, really hard. But I do love sitting back and watching her, sometimes as stressful as it is, because she gets so stressed out, which it's hard, right? Like, I get it, man, like the kids and you don't have any time in your day, but she's doing awesome. I'm so unbelievably proud of her. And it's cool to watch her grow. And I think I haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg with where she's headed, because I think once the boys are a little more settled and don't require as much time, and she can really put more time and energy in doing more and growing her business, she has an unbelievable product. And of course, she's the person behind the product.
Right.
So it's interesting, man. It's been fun watching it.
Sure.
I learned from her.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't know it, but I do.
Oh, all the time, man. All the time. Just having your significant other now present in that journey, so that you can now have not an open conversation, because I feel like your relationship with Lex and my relationship with Nicole is very much the same, in that we can talk about anything, but now you understand the conversation. It's now a two-way street. It's not just, okay, you had a hard day. Right. It's now, me too. Right. Fuck.
Right. I have a question for you. So do you guys, do you share advice with her about entrepreneurship? Is that a difficult topic between you two?
So I decided very early just because of what I know of my experience in fitness, that I can only coach her so much, right? Because my experience and my perception of my experience is so not hers, right? So for me to project what I would do, right, isn't fair to her. So if she asks for my counsel, I'll give it to her. And I'll every once in a while kind of give her some advice, but when it's all said and done, I'm here to support her journey, not to guide it, if you will. So she has her own business coach. You know, she's more than open about, you know, where she's at with her business and all that kind of good stuff. But I make a very conscious effort to, am I supposed to just listen right now, or do you want to know what I would do?
That's hard, man.
It's super fucking hard because I'm a fixer.
We all are.
You know?
Guys tend to be that way.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, this is how we're gonna take care of that shit.
Right.
She's like, that's not how I want to do it. You know, like, I'm not you, blah 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 blah, and it can become toxic. So I try to avoid all that at all costs. I bounce ideas off her all the time because she's super organized. Everything that she's amazing at, I'm horrible at. I wish I could get her to type these show notes. You know what I mean?
I hear you. She's probably like, nope, not doing it.
No.
You struggle.
So, but no, we are facilitators of each other's growth in that way.
I like that.
You know? Yeah.
We are too. I mean, I've gotten much better, I think, at doing what you say, but you know, we always joke about this. Like, if I don't say anything, I didn't say anything, they get mad. If I try to say something, then I'm trying to fix you. Which one am I supposed to be right now? I don't know. But no, that's a tough balance to learn. Yeah. When to give a hug and when to say something.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'll tell you, a couple of years back, the gym was in a rough spot and I wasn't super happy at home either. And it was because I was playing the two against each other, right? We had just had our son, or maybe our son was on the way. I can't really remember exactly, but I would go home and worry about being at the gym, and I'd be at the gym and be pissed off about not being home, right? And one day we're both just hanging out in the kitchen. And she was like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Nothing." She was like, "That's it." Turns off the stove, stops what she's doing. Music stops playing. And she was like, "Tell me what the fuck is going on." And I told her, I was like, "I'm not happy at home because I feel like I should be at the gym. I'm not happy at the gym because I feel like I should be at home." And she was like, "Let me let you off the hook right here, right now. I got this. Go do the gym thing,
right,
and make it go.
Right.
You can't, like, this isn't working for anybody, and it sure as shit isn't working for us.
Yeah.
So knock that off and stop telling that story, because all of that was a narrative that I created in my mind with zero real world evidence of either of those circumstances being true."
Yeah.
And dude, weight off my shoulders. I'm 30 pounds lighter, and
the gym takes off.
The next year, we were rated the #1 gym in America.
I tell you what, man, it's I can't wait to meet Nicole. I haven't met her yet.
Oh shit!
I haven't met her yet. So, but you know, Alexis is the same way, and man, we all just forget to step back and realize what strong women we have in our lives sometimes. And I, not that I don't appreciate it, because I do, but it's moments like that where you're like, I chose right.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're like,
she chose me. Right. I outkicked my coverage for sure.
Oh, that's so funny. I tell people I'm married up all the time. But no, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, no, having the support of them with being an entrepreneur with each other is huge.
Sure. And you know, it's cool. I find it like it this dynamic that we have now forces us both to like be in each other's corner. You know, she was with me in the infancy of our relationship, and you know, when I was in startup mode with the gym, and now I'm a couple of years ahead of her, and you know, now we're in the trenches together. You know,
it's cool,
which is super, super cool.
It's really cool. It's so fun.
But we've also established boundaries about, you know, how, you know, like about working at home and being present for the kids and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is also healthy, because I think where a pitfall of entrepreneurship is never being off, right? That whole Gary V thing, grind, 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 grind. And I think people mistake what he's saying, misinterpret what he's saying, because he's doing all of that, and just pumping out all this content, but he's got a team of 20 people that go home or go back to the office and cut and edit and post and da-da-da-da-da, so that he can just be Gary V, right? Not all of us have that luxury.
No.
So we have to scale that message to fit our circumstance and live in that.
100%. 100%. Social media is the best thing and the worst thing. It's, because he's great. He's a great role model for kids and for adults and all of us. And I feel the same way. Like, there's definitely this balance of, and I made sure that I wasn't going to be this guy. It was too important for me to be a known father.
Yeah.
To not be operating to make some extra bucks late at night. Now I did that in the beginning because I was trying to get my practice going. But most of the time now, I'm home, I'm there, I'm with the boys. On the weekends, I spend time with them. It's hugely important to me. The business can suffer if it means me having my kids look up to me and think that I was a good father one day, because you can never, ever, ever get that time back.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I think there is definitely a healthy balance to working hard and trying to, because when we're young is when we're trying to grow these businesses, and we do it when we're older too. But I think you don't ever get that young kid time back. And that crosses my mind at times where I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, why am I trying to answer one extra message right now? Like, they're over in the corner. They want me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Making
know?
that time,
Totally.
And I think that you have to, like you said earlier about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. You just have to accept some of the constants of this game, and the ebb and the flow of energy. But when you have an option to work on your business or be present with your kids, I pray for everybody watching this episode that their priorities are in alignment.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, stay up an extra hour and figure that shit out. But make sure that, when you're present, right? It doesn't matter if it's 5 hours or 5 minutes, but be present.
Totally.
When you have that opportunity.
Yep. 100%.
Like, I leave my phone in the other room all the time.
Yeah.
And I like corral my kids, and sometimes they hate it, but I'm like, no. This is for dad right now.
Right. Come jump on me.
You don't get it. But I'll be the horse. Let's do the cowboy thing.
Right.
And I just leave my phone in the other room.
Yeah.
So I can just be there with them. And like, one of the hardest things for me, like, I feel like this social obligation sometimes to whip out my phone and take pictures of them doing cute shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. Like, for me, because I'm so slow at the social media thing anyway, it completely takes me out of the moment.
Right.
So I'm like, I'd rather not bother.
Right.
Because as I'm sure in the many lives that you've lived, the story to be told is way better than what actually happened.
Totally.
So it's just like, fuck it, man. Like, let me just be here.
I like that. No, it's so true. It's so true. Because it's way better in its raw moment than you can ever capture on film.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Totally.
No question.
Where can my 20 percenters get out and support Dr. Ricky Brown?
Oh, man. Look, no one makes money on a book. But this is a good book. So if they want to support me, I'd love for them to get this into people's hands who think they're going to have surgery. And look, just I'm an open book. Go to my website, look at what I do. I'm more than just a surgeon. And so if people want to support me, come to me, let me be help for you. Send me the people that you would trust with me. And that's it, man. I just I want to be someone who my legacy is, that guy was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Not he was a great surgeon, not he was this, he was that.
He's a good man.
He was a good man, and that's what I want to leave behind. So I'm here for whoever, whenever.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for putting this out there. That is a massive resource for anybody thinking about taking the journey or making the leap to, do anything reconstructive or cosmetic. But for everybody out there, all the 20 percenters, make sure you support everything that Dr. Ricky Brown has going on, and use him as a resource if you're contemplating making that taking that leap. And last but not least, I look forward to seeing you guys at the New Year Network. Go to 20percenters Circle. That's 20percenterscircle.com for more information. And we'll see you next week.